New version of FSSC has been released on 30th of April 2023. It will be effective from 1st May 2024. Transit of all FSSC certified organization should be completed by 1st of May 2025. What are the changes? It is very early to make the video, but it will help you to transit once you decide to do from version 5.1 to version 6 after 1st of May 2024. Let's understand the changes, but before that, understand two things. Number one, you will get the complete details of the changes in our paid transition training program from the platform of QCS Global, which will occur every month. Number two, this video is helpful to those who have already taken the training in FSSC version 5.1, because we are discussing here only the changes, major changes or addition to version 6, not the complete requirements. Okay, as this is very obvious, very basic to understand and to know, that FSSC 22000 is a combination of three components: ISO 22000, the relevant PRPs, ISO TS 22002-X series, and additional requirements. First of all, understand that there is no change in ISO 22000 or ISO TS 22002-X series, example -1, that is for food manufacturing. The only changes are in FSSC 22000 scheme. Now the question is, what is FSSC 22000 scheme? This scheme includes, number one, introduction. Then we have 5 parts. Part 1 is about the scheme overview. Then part 2, requirements for organization to be audited. Part 3 is for requirements for the certification process. Then part 4 is for requirements for certification bodies. Then we have part 5, requirements for accreditation bodies, and there are certain appendices. Appendix 1 for definition and appendix 2 is for normative references. The main changes are in introduction part of FSSC scheme. Then 5 parts: part 1, part 2, part 3. So there are major changes in part 1, part 2, part 3, and no significant changes in part 4 and part 5. In part 4, there are some changes in competence of technical reviewer, witness auditor, and auditor qualification process. And part 6 is for accreditation bodies, and it has nothing to do with the organization and certification bodies. Let's start with the changes in introduction part and part 1, 2, and 3, in which certification bodies and auditors are more interested in. The main factors that initiated actually the development of this version, version 6, have been: number one, incorporating the requirements of ISO 22003-1 2002. Previous version was 2013. And what is this ISO 22003-1? That is the document specifies the requirements for the audit and certification of a food safety management system. This document is for the certification bodies who actually wants to conduct the audit against ISO 22000 and food safety management system to the organization. Number 2, that is the first factor of introducing this new version of FSSC. The second main factor is strengthening the requirements to support organizations in their contribution to meeting the SDG. SDG means Sustainable Development Goals. What is this? I'm letting you know shortly. Number 3 is editorial changes and amendments as part of continuous improvement. So these are 3 main factors on the basis of which this version 6 has been introduced. Now, what is SDG? That is the second main factor of introducing this version 6. SDG is the Sustainable Development Goals, also known as Global Goals, were adopted by the United Nations in 2015 as a universal call to action to end poverty, protect the planet, and ensure that by 2030 all employ and all people enjoy peace and prosperity. That is the objective of United Nations Development Program for 2030. So that is the reason why FSSC incorporated that goal in FSSC version 6 as well. Okay, now let's understand all the changes in a short way, in a summarized way, and we start with the changes in part 1, that is scheme overview. There is no more option for FSSC Q certification. And number 2, significant changes in food categories, subcategories, description, example of included activities, and that is all updated according to ISO 22003-1 2022 version. Previous categories were according to the previous version of ISO 22003-1, that was 2013. These are important to understand because of analyzing and identifying the mandates calculation, normative reference, and later on for the proposal making. Examples of these changes includes, for example, there is no more category A, that is farming of animals. Number 2, pre-process handling of plant products is added in category B. Number 3, animal primary conversion is added in category C. Number 4, addition of food services in category E. And number 5, brokering, trading, e-commerce is added in category F. So that was these are the changes in scheme document additional requirement part 1, part A. Now part 2, what are the changes? The title is requirements for organizations to be audited. This is the interesting part to understand. Organizations are more concerned about changes that need to be complied with to get the certification, and here are the list. In version 5.1 there are total 15 additional requirements, and now in version 6 there are total 18 additional requirements. In our online and physical training program on behalf of QCS Global, there is an activity which participant has to perform to list down all the additional requirements with sub parts according to different scope of work. This is a good activity to get the grip on applicable requirements. Let's understand all additional requirements one by one. Number 1, please remember that there are now 18 additional requirements, and there are changes in some additional requirements, and there is no change in some of the additional requirements. So we will only discussing in this video about the changes in some additional requirements. Number 1, management of services and purchase material, that is clause 2.5.1, and in this requirement standard asking organization to develop the criteria for the use of recycled packaging for category I only. Means if you are involved in a scope other than manufacturing of packaging material, there is no change in the requirement of you, for your organization. Number 2 is product labeling and printed material, that is clause 2.5.2. Additions are special claims on label shall be validated, like allergen, nutrition, raw material status, etc. Food chain category I, artwork management and print control procedures shall be established and implemented, that includes approval of artwork, process to manage changes, control printing error, etc. Number 3, major changes in management of allergen 2.5.6. List of allergen required handled on site, validation and verification required, training required for allergen management plan shall be reviewed at least annually, and requirements for warning labels. So that are the changes in allergen requirement of FSSC additional requirements. Then we have fourth change in additional requirement, that is environmental monitoring, and environmental monitoring program shall be reviewed at least annually. Then change number 5 in additional requirement, that is food safety and quality culture, clause number 2.5.8. Entire new requirement has been added in addition to clause 5.1 of ISO 22000-2018, where top management is responsible for developing food safety culture. The requirement was not detailed in that clause. Very clearly now, the top management shall establish, implement and maintain food safety and quality culture objective with respect to communication, training, employee feedback and engagement performance measurement. Also need to make a documented food safety and quality culture plan with targets and timelines. You can find a complete video on food safety culture in my channel QA Learning Hub for better understanding of the requirement. Another new requirement has been added, that is quality control, clause number 2.5.9, and this clause details the requirement for lab activities that includes established quality parameters, analysis and evaluation of test results, quality control procedures, line startup and changeover procedures, etc. A good addition in requirement 2.5.10, that is storage and warehouse and transport, adding requirements for risk-based plan for transport, and transport of what? Tankers. both for raw materials and finished products. Cleaning required for empty tankers prior to loading. Supplier agreement is required for material received in tanker to ensure product safety. 2511, that is hazard control and measures for preventing cross contamination. This clause is added with foreign matter management includes use of foreign body detection equipments requirements based on risk. Also requires the procedure for metal, ceramic, hard plastic, etc. Then 2515, equipment management, defining the requirements for suitability of equipments for its hygienic design. Then a new requirement meeting the SDG, again sustainable development goals, added as food loss and waste, that is clause number 2.5.16, requiring documented policy and objective detailing the organization's strategy to reduce food loss and food waste. Then change number 11, in additional requirement, that is communication requirement, clause number 2.5.17, and this clause requires communication of organization to CBs within 3 days, working days, of the occurrence of any serious event and situation. Example, war, terrorism, flood, earthquake, fraudulent activity, recalls and withdrawals, etc. Then we have part 3. So these are all the changes in part 2, which includes additional requirements, and then we have part 3, requirements for certification bodies. This section is actually useful for both the CBs and organization because it includes mandates calculation, and financial court is actually dependent on this mandates calculation. Main changes in this section are: mandates calculation for audits will be followed according to ISO 17021, ISO 22003-1 new version 2022 and FSSC 22000 requirements. Formula now is DS is equal to TD plus TH plus TFTE. Previously there was TMS management system. It was now obsoleted and deleted from the formula. Number 3, FSSC total time will be added to DS as follows: 1 Monday when the company has less than 250 FTE and 1 or 2 HACCP studies, and 1.5 mandates will be added to DS when the organization has 250 FTE or more or 3 HACCP studies or more. This part also includes further requirements for reduction in mandates, effects on mandates when using interpreter, minimum audit duration, surveillance and RCA mandates, transition audit, audit planning, reporting, mandates calculation for multi-sites, etc. And it will be discussed in lead audit courses or our specialized training to version 5.6. Inclusion of FSSC assurance platform along with other quality assurance activities also manages allocation of unique code and QR code that is linked to the organization. So these are some of the major changes in version 6 from version 5.1. If you want to understand these changes in detail and how to comply the requirements according to FSSC guidance documents, don't forget to join our online training session. Send your query through our email ID and WhatsApp number. Thank you so much for watching this video. Goodbye.